Hey guys, it's Jake here. I just got myself some Dutch Bros and think I'm gonna make a video. It's a watermelon, I forgot what this is called, Watermelon Rebel with soft top. That's why it's got the cream on the top. It's pretty good. I wouldn't say it's my favorite though. I want to get into why you might think a Mazdaspeed 3 would be right for you. And we'll get into a few ideas or a few features on why it might be good for you. So I've owned my Mazdaspeed 3 for just about a year now, and I think that's enough to say whether a car is meant for you or not. And there's a few things that are particularly in the Mazda 3 hatch that I want to bring up that's kind of important when considering if it's right for you, you know. Alright, first of those being, well, you got the two different, you got the Mazda 3, and you got the Mazdaspeed 3. The difference in those being, I think, slightly different suspension and obviously the engine and a small few like styling changes other than that. So the difference between those two, like the engine wise, yeah, it's like about 100 to 150 horsepower or something like that because they added the turbo. So if you're looking for a hot hatch that's not a like a Volkswagen GTI or a Subaru WRX, they could be found for a little bit cheaper, around like the 10K to like 5K. I wouldn't go buy anything less than that. But the regular 3s, they're pretty cheap because they just got the regular engine and they're not like an enthusiast's car quite as much. But yeah, so there's those two different options. The styling is different, like especially in the interior. With the Mazdaspeed 3, you get this red stitching on this. I don't know if you can see on here, but there's red stitching all the way up the seats and stuff. And you can see it maybe in here, there's stitching all the way down here. That's all red stitching. And you get the Mazdaspeed logo, you can see behind me right here, on the floor mats as well. That's kind of the small interior stuff between the Mazdaspeed 3 and the regular 3. Alright, now getting into like the body style, if it's meant for you or not. So the Mazdaspeed 3 only came in the hatchbacks with a manual. So if you don't like the look of hatchbacks, I know one of my buddies doesn't like the look of hatchbacks, it's probably not right for you. I mean, all the Speed 3s came in hatchbacks. I'd probably look into getting a Speed 6 if you like the engine and you like having a turbo. The Speed 6 might be a good option to look into. It is all-wheel drive, and it's the same engine that's in my Speed 3 at about 263 or something like that horsepower, and it's the same amount of torque, just about. But the hatchback is really useful. If you're lucky, you can find them with the privacy cover. I bought my privacy cover used, and the seats fold down and everything like that. The hatch opens all the way up. I was able to put my bike in here. I ride BMX, and I was able to fit my bike in here. Actually, I was able to fit two bikes in here, not with really any problems at all. I didn't have to move the seats forward, like the front seats forward. I just had to fold the back seats down, take the privacy cover off, because that's the way to put them in without the seats. That's pretty much it. I mean, like, you don't really get a whole lot difference out of the hatchback versus the regular sedan, besides having the just huge trunk space. But yeah. Alright, next I want to get into the transmission and kind of like the more engine side of things. So I already said that the Speed 3 has the turbo inline 4-cylinder, you know, with the intercooler on top. And the second gen also has the intercooler on top, but it has a hood scoop. It just means it cools down a little bit faster. I'd look into getting a hood scoop one, like the second gen, if you're really performance oriented about things, because the engines don't heat soak as fast because it's pulling air. through a bigger area, like a hood scoop like this big. But anyways, the transmission in my Mazdaspeed 3 is a 6-speed. As with any of the Mazdaspeeds, they're always manual. The regular Mazda 3s are automatic, and I think there's a 5-speed manual as well. But the Speed 3s always came in a manual with a 6-speed. So reverse is down into first gear, that kind of area. You go down and then out. And then another thing is, I wish I knew prior to getting this vehicle, is that the clutches are really sensitive, or heavy, or some may call it. So you push, my car's on right now, but I push down the clutch, and it's about 25 pounds, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little more, of pedal weight, and it doesn't really engage until, like, it's really short. So like there's a short window in which you can feather the clutch in to get the car rolling. And I've had a manual before this, but it was totally different coming to this. I had a 5-speed in the Mitsubishi Eclipse, and I went through a clutch in that, so I had a new clutch. I know what that felt like. I knew it was a little heavy and stuff like that, but using this clutch, my leg got sore like the first couple times I used this. So just a heads up, it is heavy, and it's not specifically a 2-stage clutch. I was told that at the dealership, but mine's just a regular clutch. But they are heavy, and they're very picky at what time like you feather it in, because I've killed my car way more than I'd like to admit, just because I've been used to a lazier clutch. But this one is really picky, and like if you slightly let it out too early, you'll instantly kill the car, and it really bogs it down real fast. But yeah, so that's something to, if you're looking into getting one of these, that's something to be mindful of, is you're gonna be sore for the first couple days. Well, and it's gonna take a lot to get used to driving a manual with this heavy of a clutch and this picky. The next thing I want to get into is probably the styling. I personally like the Gen 1 styling, so that's the one that I have. And the Gen 2 is a little sharper, more like modern type look to them. The front end is definitely sharper on those, and the sides are kind of the same between these two generations. But I do like the wheels on the Gen 2. A lot of people do they take the Gen 2 wheels, put them on the Gen 1. Yeah, I already have wheels on this that are looking all pretty alright. But the interior styling is something different that you're not going to really see in other cars too much. So in the Mazdaspeed 3, it's black with red stitching, and it's weird because it's black on the bottom, as you can see, with gray, and it's kind of black and gray throughout here. But then there's this cream colored everything, like from this body line up is all gray, like all the way to the back. And it's kind of just weird that there's, like, you know, like a split between it. The more like you kind of look at it, you're like, that's a little odd, because the regular 3s, they had you know, tan interiors that match this or whatnot. But it's a little different when it comes to the Mazdaspeed 3 when they had the black interior matched against this. Also, I forgot to mention, the seats are different in their own right. So I already said that they have the Mazdaspeed logo on them, but they're also partly leather and partly this, it's like a fabric, it's like a weaved fabric almost, for the center. So like you don't have to worry about kind of cleaning up too much leather in here. And I really like that the leather's not everywhere, because like even getting a hot car, it really burns that black leather. But you get to sit against the cloth, which is really nice. And I really like the kind of like two-tone look the gray against the black, it looks really good, especially with the red lettering. I think it just brings it all together. However, the back seats, there's a little bit more leather to them. There's also, they're not as complex as like all this stitching and stuff. There's just a little bit of red stitching on them. I'm looking at them now, and there's still this fabric on the center, and I'll show you that in just a second. All right, so now you can see the back seats here. I've got a t-shirt in there, but you can see there's a little bit more leather. It's not quite as complex as this seat up here. You can see all like the different edges and stuff. And it doesn't say Mazdaspeed in the back, but it does look pretty good. It ties the interior together. And I'll get a close-up of the steering wheel. I don't know if you can see this. There's red stitching all the way throughout here on the inside of the steering wheel, and then on the shift boot here, it's hard to tell, but there's red stitching also on here. But yeah, I really like the interior on these. I think the partially cloth seats were a good idea from Mazda. All right, if you guys are into like cargo space and making sure you got plenty of space for everything, Mazda 3 does not disappoint with all this. First of all, the glove box is huge. Like you could fit a small child in there. Like you can see in here, I've got like 4 boxes in there, and it goes like at least 1.5 feet back. So you got plenty of space there. I'm gonna flip the camera. All right, and then you also got in here, you got a little bit of space for like glasses, sunglasses, and stuff. You know, normal side pockets with cup holders in the center. That folds down like that. Then you got 2 layers of these. There's also this cover right here so you can put your cords through and stuff, but you know, modern phones don't quite fit in this. Then you got the aux cord and another power outlet in here. There's 2 more cup holders in the back seat right there, and then 2 more down there to the side, and then you got all the hatch space in the back, which is a lot of space. And then I forgot about this itty bitty tiny little cubby thing. I just put my little sunglasses in there, and that's pretty much it for interior storage on the Mazda 3. All right, performance wise on the Mazdaspeed 3, if this one's meant for you or not, I mean, if you've driven a front wheel drive car before, and it doesn't even have to be a really fast one, just understand how like the front wheel drive car reacts, how you drive it. It's a little different than all wheel drive or rear wheel drive. Just the way that you get thrown back in the seat, the way you go around corners, it's a little different. But if you've never driven a front wheel drive car before, the torque steer might get you. Not gonna lie, the first gen torque steer is kind of an issue in like 2nd and 3rd gear. If you get a nice tune though, you can kind of like select if you really want so much of it or whatnot, because it's kind of like limits the power on each wheel. Torque steer, I don't really have a problem with it, because I've driven all my cars have been front wheel drive. The manual, I mean the 6-speed, it's kind of just normal manual. I already went over the clutch, how that can be a little picky, but it is a more performance car. You know, you can get 300 horsepower with like just a few hundred dollars in mods. You can easily get like 300 horsepower. Mine's just about 300 horsepower right now, because I'm on a stage 2 tune that's custom. But yeah, I'd recommend it if you really like a little bit of a quicker car. I mean, the Mazda 3 is a good starter car, I would say. There's a lot of people that have those, and they're pretty reliable. They're just like the Mazda 3. They have a similar interior and everything like that. Just if you want a more performance-based one and its own little cult following, that's where the Mazdaspeed 3 really shines. Mazda 3 community is kind of small. beside, like, no one really touches those a whole lot. I mean, I know a couple people that mod their Mazda 3s, just the regular ones, but not quite as much as the Mazdaspeed 3s. There's a lot more, there's a lot more customization and like kind of options out there, but there's only really a few dealers or distributors for Mazdaspeed 3 parts, like Cork Sport and Cobb and stuff like that. But there's not a whole lot of options out for Mazda 3s besides that. So if you want to get more into aftermarket modding and stuff like that, the Mazdaspeed's the way to go. You want some more performance out of it, the Mazdaspeed's the way to go. But if you're really not going to care and you just want the gas mileage and the styling, personally, the Mazda 3 is not a bad car, especially for the price you can get them at. They're really cheap compared to, like, I bought my car for $7 or $8 grand. It's not worth it if you are not gonna enjoy it. Almost like if you're just getting it as a first car, the power is not gonna be something you really need to look for. Well, that kind of wraps up the mod. Like, if you want a Mazda 3, kind of what to look for, and whether the Mazda 3 or the Mazdaspeed 3 or the Mazdaspeed 6 is even meant for you. I hope that helps at all. If you have any questions, comment them down below. Don't forget to like if you like this, and subscribe. It really helps me. I mean, I'm just getting started and would appreciate some feedback. So if there's anything else, have a good day.